This is a big game. How do you like to play it?
So for me, with an open world game like Watch Dogs, what's interesting is to take my time to not only do the main quest, but also explore the city. Set my own objectives, say I want to start putting viruses in that part of the city to extend my power over it, and then start doing various contracts or side missions so that my character becomes more and more powerful. Buy new tools, buy new guns, craft my own items, and then go back to playing the main storyline. So kind of, mixing it up, not only focusing on the core narrative, exploring a lot, basically. That's how I like to play Watch Dogs.
What's your favorite weapon and why?
So the main weapons for the characters are not only his guns, but also his hacking. So for me, it has to be hacking in general is my favorite weapon. So basically looking at my surroundings and finding the various ways I can use hacking to get the upper hand on my opponents. Now, yes, I really like a big, powerful machine gun, so I will mix it up with some form of more direct shooting, but always I'm concentrating on hacking because that's one of the main pillars in Watch Dogs, making our game very unique. So that often means sneaking around initially, and then, if I decide to be a bit more violent, I'll still make use of it.
What's your favorite gameplay style when you're on your feet?
So for me, it has to be infiltration. Infiltration is so natural for a hacker. It's scouting your area, the area you want to attack or that you need to get into, start looking through cameras, identifying the opponents that are there and finding smart ways of dealing with them. Then I'll naturally try and use something like a silenced pistol initially. And then if I get seen, then I change back to a completely violent approach, grenade launcher, explosive, anything that get those opponents out of my way, basically.
How do you like to use vehicles in this game?
So in Watch Dogs, the vehicles are a core part of the adventure. You can use them as tools for your various missions. I personally just like to drive around the city. We have about 50 missions that are focused solely on driving, and what I'll do is I'll do some of those. Some require very much precision driving skills, and we're challenging the player on it if he likes that. So I like to just drive around the city and do some of those driving missions, challenging myself to be as good as I can at them. Also obviously when you get back to the core missions, driving is an important way of tackling some of the challenges. So sometimes you can bring a vehicle to a challenge that you might not have thought that was useful, to ram into an area, for example, with a big truck. So all of those tactics are very viable in Watch Dogs.
Can you give us a hacking tip?
Yeah, concretely. Yeah, so one of the things that you should try to do when you play Watch Dogs is to experiment with hacking, the various things that you can do with it. So let's take, for example, a blackout. Causing a blackout can be very useful if you're in a bit of a problem, you have a problem and you want to flee. It'll create a strong distraction. But it's also very powerful because it denies all the electric powered systems in an area. So if someone's using hacks on you and you do a blackout, or if someone's using mechanical items against you and you cause a blackout, you might deny them from power. So that's an example of how, if you're creative with the hacking powers that we give Aiden, you're able to find various use depending on the context.
What strategy do you like to use for multiplayer?
Yeah, so in a multiplayer, especially when you hack another player or a player hacks you, there's various strategies that you can use. A lot of people try to hide within the crowd, so try to hack low profile. The other player doesn't see you as Aiden Pearce. He sees you like any other pedestrian in the street. So if you act, correctly like the NPCs in the street, he'll think you're just one of the other AIs and he'll have a harder time to find you. Personally, I like to use the fact that our city is very dense and multi-layered. So I'll go on top of the L, I'll hide in the Undercity, make it hard for the player to figure out exactly where I am while I'm hacking him.
What's your favorite section in Chicago and why?
So to me, it has to be Central Loop area around the river. It's very rich because you have, the underground, the undercity of Chicago, you have the upper layers, you have the L train, you have boats going by, and all those drawbridges, which are really specific to Chicago. All of those things you can hack into. So then you have this big playground where you have a lot of control, a lot of density, traffic, people in the street. That's the area where I have the most fun playing Watch Dogs.